Here we. Hi, Geoff. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Danielle. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Where are you based in the US?
I'm in upstate New York, so I'm about four hours northwest of New York City. So still New York State, but not New York City.
Yeah. What Masters Club do you swim out of?
Great question. So I actually am with a smaller group that we just swim at a local YMCA here. I swim for Binghamton University Masters Swimming. That's about an hour and a half away from where I'm at. So as a club team, that's where I represent. But for myself, there's just a small handful of us that swim at local YMCA's, 6-lane pools, no starting blocks, and but it works. It works great for us.
Yeah. Did you get a swim in today?
Not today. Yesterday. So today was a lift day. Yesterday was a swim day, and then still have to figure out what tomorrow's schedule looks like.
Tell us about your session yesterday. What did you do in the pool?
I'm just coming off both our long course US nationals, and then the following week I also had a short course yards meet. So same taper, so why not have an extra meet the next weekend? Just a little local masters meet in our area. So I did both of those. So this is really my first week kind of coming off a taper, trying to stay active in the water, re-engaging some of the lifting side. So what did I do on Monday? Monday was I did a set of, this is all short course yards, because in the US most of the time we swim short course yards. So it was 4 100s on 145, so plenty of rest. Then a 200 easy, then 3 100s, then 150 easy, 2 100s, 100 easy, and then 150 easy. The whole goal of that was holding best average on the hundreds. So it was a kind of a free base set. So I took it out a touch too hard on the first couple and paid for it a little bit during the set, but that's what happens when you're trying to get a little bit of fitness back.
Yeah. And what time are you coming in on? Are you going to give us a insight?
Oh, sure. So yards, if you're coming from a short course meters time, yards, you have to kind of subtract about 6 seconds from short course meter, or add 6 seconds to get the short course meters. So I was 55 on the first one, 58, 60, and then it fell off a little bit to up to 65, and then back down to 58.
Oh, that's a good set. Well done.
So add 6 seconds, that gets you to about short course meters times.
Yeah. And I know you're a breaststroker. Do you do a lot of form work in your sessions, or mainly free?
I do mostly breaststroke, mostly sprint. This was kind of a atypical practice for me, more just that the lane space that was available, and really just kind of getting back into doing something fun and different. I tend to do quite a bit of breaststroke during workouts. This was just something fun, just a random set that we came up with yesterday.
Yeah, I love those descending sets. They're great, aren't they?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I don't like going the other way where you're increasing your repetitions. It's hard to get over.
Yes, once you get the first ones over, it's the 2 and the 1 are always much nicer than the first.
Absolutely. And let's look back to your early swimming career. Were you an age group swimmer in the US?
I started swimming. We have country club type swimming, so local outdoor pools in the summer here. Started in the summer when I was 7, and then year round when I was 10. So relatively early age, swam through college. I was able to go to college on a swimming scholarship, which they have here in the US. So that paid for a good portion of my college, though it wasn't a big program by any means. It was University at Buffalo. So it wasn't one of the big names that everybody hears about when they read SwimSwam or any other news articles, but it was a small program, and it was a great fit for me.
Oh, that sounds good. And was that NCAA Division 1 or Division 2? It has different.
It was Division 1, but it was a smaller Division 1 program.
Right. So based around that, what other colleges did you swim against when you were racing?
So Eastern Michigan University, Miami of Ohio, University of Toledo, Bowling Green State University. So it was a Mid-American conference. So it's called a mid-major. So it's not any of the major conferences that are out there, but it's also not the little tiny ones either. So it was just a good balance for me. Good location from home, and it worked out well.
Yeah. And what success did you have at the college level?
I had some pretty significant drops at the college level. From high school, it took me a little time, but I was able to, I think in my 100 breast, I was able to drop about 2.2 seconds over my time while I was there, which is a reasonable drop coming from high school. Still been able to drop since then, but that was a great drop and great experience while I was there.
Yeah, fantastic. So tell us how you got into master swimming.
Sure. So I will be the first one to say after swimming college, I didn't know if I would ever swim again, but 5-6 years off and kind of got the bug to swim again. Actually, there was I was living in Texas at the time, and there was one of the pro, it was Tier Pro Swim Series, I believe now, or it was a Tier Pro Swim Series, and they had a competition down in Austin. I'm like just watching, it was January 2011. The cuts for the meet didn't seem that hard. I think for breaststroke, it was a 110, 111 long course meters. I'm like, okay, maybe I could get back in the water and do that and, swim with one of these big meets and with all the Olympic level athletes, just to say I participated in that. I'm like, I'll get back in the water and try. And then I did. And then I wasn't anywhere close to that time. And it took me years and years and years of clawing back. So it was one of those things that just stuck with it. And finally, after 5 years of trying to reach one, or 4 years of trying to reach one of those meets, I did qualify for that meet down in Austin. I swam that in 2015.
Oh,
So
well
it was a nice chasing after a goal for 4 years to finally reach that.
yeah, absolutely. And did you find a masters club straight away to swim with, or did you start off sort of going to the pool and finding some like-minded people or buddies around? How did that all get going for you?
There's always been masters clubs, but they're always really tiny. So it's usually just a handful of people that swim, or a text message group that, hey, I'm swimming today, and 3 or 4 other people show up. It's not a masters group where there's 20 or 30 or 40 people that show up in a given workout, like there is in some of the Florida programs that they have. So it's really just a small group of tight-knit people, but we have some relatively quick swimmers in our area for the population, because there's not a lot of people that live here compared to a major city, and we have quite a few fast swimmers in the area.
Yeah. And do you coach yourselves, or you have a coach on pool deck?
For the most part, ourselves.
Yes.
So we'll come up with whatever the workout of the day happens to be. If we're feeling ambitious, we'll do something ambitious. If we're feeling like we just want to paddle around a little bit and enjoy the day, then we'll chit chat a little bit and talk, and start the day off with a good swim and talk.
Yeah. Oh, that's the best way, isn't it? Because it's fun.
It is. It is.
And typically, how many sessions would you manage to get in the water a week?
Sure. So I'm on the lower end from most master swimmers. I would say usually 3, at the most 4. 4 is kind of my limit, where my body doesn't like to recover between. That's the difference on the master side versus the age group side. Is if I'm going 4 hard sessions a week, even at 3,000 meters, my body doesn't recover much more if I try to push it. So usually kind of stay right in that 10 to 15 thousand meters a week.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. And I know you've got young children, so how do you fit in work, family, swimming? You said you lifted weights as well. How do you fit that all into your schedule?
Carefully.
Yeah.
So I have a very understanding wife that knows that I'm a better person when I swim, and just more balanced overall. So she lets me do the swimming side of things. I'm also fortunate to be self-employed, where I have a little bit of flexibility in my schedule, so I can swim either during some off hours, or don't have to start and stop at any given time. So that's very helpful. But yeah, it's a balance, right? Luckily, swimming doesn't take time as much as other sports. I mean, if you're a golfer going out golfing for 4 rounds a week at 4 hours and a round, that takes up even more time than swimming does, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned you lifted weights. So how many sessions a week would you do dry land type stuff?
So weights are very new to me. In college, we didn't have a weight program. We didn't do weights. So all throughout college and even most of my master's career, I had never done any weights, any dry land whatsoever. And this year, at the beginning of COVID times, January 2020, I said, okay, I've got 18 months till World Championships. Well, I thought it was going to be sooner, but then Worlds got delayed. So I have 18 months till World Championships. What do I want to do and accomplish during that time, especially if the pools are closed and we're not able to swim? And so I put a good amount of effort into lifting. I'm still very new at that, but I put a lot of effort into the lifting and had some tremendous time drops because of that. So lifting has been that low-hanging fruit, if you will, for trying to get some swimming improvements that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So I'm still optimistic that I can try to keep that going.
Yeah. And did you find when you did that, you were working on your leg strength, or was it mainly core? What kind of takeaways from lifting?
Just raw strength. Legs are certainly my weak spot. And as a breaststroker, they shouldn't be. So I must have the flexibility in my, hips and knees and ankles, but just the raw strength wasn't there when you watch some of the, how much some of the elite level athletes are lifting now, and you're not even in the same stratosphere as them. So it just kind of gives you a little bit to say, okay, maybe if I work on this, I can get a little faster.
Yeah. Do you find that talking about leg strength in breaststroke, do you focus on a lot of kick in your training, breaststroke kicking? Or
I do.
Yeah, you do.
I do. I actually, for breaststroke training, I rarely do more than a 25 or a 50 of straight breaststroke swimming. I tend to do a lot of breaking things down of kick sets or pull sets separately, just to work on those individual items. So pull sets have also helped quite a bit, because that was another. I'm always been even though my weightlifting for kicking hasn't been as strong, I'm still a kick dominant breaststroker. So trying to work on that pull has certainly helped over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you I know do you swim 50, 100 and 200 breaststroke, or do you mainly stick to the two sprints?
I swim them all. I have a love-hate relationship with the 200. I'm learning to appreciate it. There's still a lot of nerves that go along with appreciating it, and especially the long course 200 yards you can get away with, because it's just short course and it's a 20-second shorter race. But long course, I'm learning to appreciate it.
Long course 200s really hurt, don't they?
They do, and if you swim them correctly, they hurt even more.
That's true. What do you love most about master swimming? So you had that first experience doing the meet in Austin, as you said, but what keeps making you go back for more masters competitions?
I'd have to say that people, I mean, it's the personal drive, certainly, just to try to get better, but it's the people that make master swimming, the friends that you meet along the way. My first Worlds was 2014 in Montreal, and I didn't know anything about Worlds. I just knew it was a drive, only a 4-hour drive. So I'm like, okay, I'll go for it. Met so many great people. I met Casey Flausch from Australia there. That's when I met Casey. So I guess that was 7 years ago. And Mirko from Toronto, and just so many great people that at that meet. And then your community slowly builds. Every time you go to another meet, you meet a few more people and a few more people. And the outside the pool stuff is equally as good as the inside the pool.
Agreed. Yeah, it was I went to Montreal as well, and that was my first one too. It was such a wonderful atmosphere, and there was so many athletes, and just a great opportunity to meet people from different parts of the world, and it expands your horizons as well, doesn't it?
Well, and that was a logistically challenging meet, as you know, between the different pools. Little funny story for that. I drove up the morning of the 100 breaststroke wasn't until the afternoon. So I drove up the morning 100 breaststroke. No idea what this meet was, just assumed it was like a normal masters meet. No idea. So finally got there, figured out all the crazy logistics, swam my event, and I looked at the scoreboard, and I had never won a US Nationals or never won anything. Looked at the scoreboard, and the way it was stacked, it was the winner or the winning time, and then below that was lane 0, then lane 1, lane 2, and I was in lane 1, I think. So I just looked second spot down. I didn't know the winning time was the first section. So I saw a time, and I looked at it. I'm like, huh, I guess that was a little slower than I thought I'd go. No idea, wasn't looking around at all. And I was like, okay, I guess it was a good first swim, nothing too crazy. I walked out around the pool, and my buddy's like, do you know you just won that? I'm like, no, I had no idea. So because the first time I ever won a real race like that, I had no idea whatsoever that I'd even won it. I was just totally oblivious.
Oh, wow. That's a great story. I love it. So you had your blinkers on, which is what we try to do when we're swimming in the lane anyway. And you didn't realize when you touched the wall.
No idea. And then of course you have one, and then you want to chase more, and they're not easy to come by any means. So it's a great drive to continue to have.
Yeah. And was that in the beautiful main pool in Montreal, or in the temporary pool that you got that?
It was in the main pool.
Oh, that's good.
It was in the main pool.
Yeah, that temporary pool wasn't so good.
No, luckily I had my off events in the temporary pool and my main events in the main pool.
Oh,
so
that
it
worked out
out
well.
on that way.
And how many worlds have you been to altogether?
3. So I missed Kazan in 2015, and then I went to Budapest in 2017 and said, at that point, I'm going to every one that I can possibly go to. It's just, I just enjoy it so much, the competition. It's just another level of competition than you can do just on a domestic meet. And I went to Guangzhou in 2019 as well.
Yeah. And so out of the 3, which one have you enjoyed the most?
Budapest is going to be hard to beat.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard
just with the 4 pools, the food, the location. It's a very hard meet to beat.
Yeah. And when you go to a meet like that, obviously in Budapest or in Guangzhou, when you're traveling, how do you sort of cope with the travel and the racing, the recovery, the different food, resting in a new sort of environment? So what are your tips if someone was going to think about going to the Worlds in Fukuoka next year?
Sure. So Budapest is only a 6-hour time change for us, so it's really not all that bad. So we actually ended up going to Madrid for a few days before to adjust for the time zone, and Budapest wasn't that bad. Guangzhou was a whole nother situation in general for us. That's on the other side of the world, and I've never been on a flight that long or to Asia. So arrive early and get as much sleep as you can is probably the recommendation. On the food side, that's actually a pretty funny question that you asked that. So despite being a swimmer, I have a food allergy that I'm deathly allergic to fish and shellfish, which puts Korea and Japan on places where I basically have to go to a grocery store and get food. There's very little chance I can even go to any sort of restaurant. So it makes it very challenging on the Asian trips. Budapest, not as much. That was fine, but for Asia, it makes it a little more challenging.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, you have to be very careful, obviously, of anything that you buy in those situations. Yeah. And how do you find the warm-up pool at Worlds? For those who haven't been, it's a pretty crazy situation, isn't it? Particularly in Montreal, I found it.
Montreal, have you ever been to any other Worlds other than Montreal?
That was my first and only one, but planning on next year. Yeah.
Okay, so Montreal was crazy. Budapest was just fine because they had pools everywhere. So if they had 2 competition pools, there was a 10-lane 25-meter pool with another one outside. They had pools everywhere, so I didn't find it too bad at Budapest or Guangzhou. Actually, Guangzhou, right in the same complex, they held the meet in one 50-meter pool, and they had a 50-meter warm-up, warm-down pool, and it was crowded, but not anything that was nearly like Montreal. So I'm hoping that's the case for Fukuoka as well. So Montreal was hopefully an anomaly on the warm-up situation.
Let's hope so. And what kind of race warm-up do you do when you get to the pool ready to race?
Sure. So for most days, I actually do a similar warm-up during my practice, and I try to keep that the same for meet days. So I'll do a 200 swim, 100 kick, and then 200 IM just to get my muscles moving in different directions. Then another, or 100 kick, sorry, 200 free, 100 kick, 200 IM, 100 kick, and then a 200 pull or some other, technical type item that's a little bit different, and then 100 kick. When I say 100 kick, being a breaststroker, it's really just to warm up the legs, warm up groin, so you don't pull any muscles. I tend to do breaststroke kick on my back as warm up kick more than hands out in front or with a board. So that's just the way I like to warm up my legs for a breaststroke swim.
And any sprint dives or starts, anything like that in your
warm-up? Yeah, after I get warmed up, if I'm doing 100, I'll do some 25 paces just to kind of see where I'm at. So a 25 hard and then maybe a 25 easy just to see where I'm at. Or if it's a 200, I'll do some 50 paces. Then a couple dives off the block just to get used to it, since we don't have any at the pool that we're at. And then see if I remember to still how to do it. Yeah. And then ready to race and put the suit on.
And how long would you typically warm up before your race?
So I'll do the main warm up. So if there's a main warm up time, I'll swim for half an hour of that main warm up time, play around a little bit, maybe get 1,000 to 1,500 meters in, nothing too extravagant. A lot of that's just really easy swimming. I'll put a suit on, and then maybe 30, 45 minutes before my race, I'll hop in for about 10 minutes, do a couple more with the suit on, do a couple more sprint 25s or sprint 50s, just to get a feel for body position with a tech suit on, then dry off and get behind the blocks.
Yeah, fantastic. And what's your mindset walking out before a big race? What do you think?
I'm getting better with that. So that's always been a little bit of a nemesis for me, is just being in the right headspace for races. 50s are easy, they don't hurt. 100s don't really hurt, but the 200 headspace is a little bit more challenging. So really just trying to get my headspace right, work on, if it's short course, know what my stroke counts are for each lap. If it's long course, really have my tempo nailed down, because stroke counts are a little harder in long course than they are in short course. And just focus on 2 or 3 things like that, and then try to finish to the wall.
Yeah. Are you good at your underwater pool or your breaststroke breakout?
I'm working on it. That the strength training has certainly helped on that, but I'm much better in the second 25 I'm much better long course swimmer than a short course swimmer. Okay. So I'm working on that, but I tend to accelerate on the second half of a lap, as opposed to I'm playing catch up on the pull out and underwater portion.
Yeah. And I mean, with Adam Peaty, you would have obviously watched him at the Olympics as well, and his breaststroke technique is really different from everyone else's and moved the stroke forward. Is yours sort of more aligned with the way he's swimming, or do you have a more traditional breaststroke technique?
A little bit of both. I'm, just like everybody else, I'm watching what he's doing and saying, okay, what can I do or what can I manipulate my stroke to look like his. Really racing at tempos and being able to hold water at the tempos that he can hold. So he's holding water at 60 to 65 strokes a minute when he's coming home at the end of a race, and holding water at tempo is very, very, very challenging. So really just working on tempo work where you're not slipping is incredibly important. And the other things come with that. Your hand speed comes with that, your foot speed comes with that, because you have to be able to hold water at those tempos. So I'm not anywhere near that, but you try.
I know. Well, so it's good to have something to aim for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us about your best race you've ever put together.
Best race.
Yeah.
That's a great question. So I would say it's this summer. So I'll be 39 in December. So fortunately I get to age up for 40 to 44 next year. But I'm at a weird spot where the strength training has really paid off. For long course breaststroke, I was a 107 in college. And then I was a 105.9 in Montreal in 2014. So I was faster than then. And then I kind of stayed around that 105 mark. And then this summer, I had a swim this summer in July, August, I was 104.6. And then at nationals this year, I was 104.2. So swimming at the strength training has certainly helped, and swimming at a different level than I was in college. So I would have to say, the swims that I had this summer are getting close. I didn't think I'd ever be that fast, so it's really reevaluating what goals and what's possible at a later age.
Yeah, let's talk about the US Long Course Nationals, because you had some success there. So what races were you in, and how did you go?
Sure. So I swam the first event. I swam the 50 free breaststroke, just to kind of get out there and have a good breaststroke swim. I know the place wasn't going to be great, but I wanted to have a 50 breaststroke under my belt before the real meet started. Then I swam the 100 breaststroke, the 200 breaststroke, the 50 breaststroke, the 50 butterfly, and the 200 IM.
Okay. And results?
So I was fortunately able to win all of those for my age group, and a couple of the times were the fastest at the meet for certain events as well.
Well done. Fantastic.
So thank you.
Yeah. And how far outside the world record are you for your age group?
I'm getting close. So again, I didn't think that was even in the ballpark. The 35 to 39 records are quite challenging, and the 40 to 44 are potentially doable. So that's been the goal that I set almost a year ago now, and about halfway through that until Worlds this next past summer. So both a 50 and 100 long course and short course, there's an outside chance. Yes. So that's what I'm shooting for, and that's kind of the motivation that I have for the upcoming year.
Yeah. And in the US, obviously you swim the yards as well. Do you have US records for short course yards?
There are, and there's actually another guy that just turned 40, James Fike, and he's doing some amazing things in especially yards and short course. So by no means are any of those, some of those records may go down before I even get there if he swims a master short course meters meet. So there's lots of competition out there. Rio is that you had on the podcast before. He's got a home competition coming up in June of next year, and we're going to both be in the same age group. So that one alone is going to be a very fun race between the two of us. He'll certainly have home pool advantage. So yeah, there's a lot of fast swimmers in every age group across the board.
Yes. Yeah, I'll look forward to watching that race then, because I know he's pumped, and you sound like you are too.
I am. It'll be fun. It's just, again, you just meet new people, enjoy the races, do your best, and that's what life's about.
Yeah. And on the US Masters scene, you have the US Long Course Nationals each year, and then you have a second one, the Short Course Nationals. Are they in different locations or?
Yeah, so they're different locations. Usually Short Course Nationals which is yards, is in end of April timeframe.
Right.
So it's usually end of April every year, and Long Course Nationals is usually the beginning of August every year. Because of COVID, they pushed those back, so they were a little later this year. So instead of having an April meet for short course, we had a July meet for short course.
Right. And do you ever swim any open water over the summer months?
I do. So we have a couple lakes, reservoirs around our area that we swim in. So I get roped into swimming a little bit of open water. It's not my favorite, but I do it. And it's nice more than anything to be outside, because we don't have a lot of outside pools where we're located. So swimming inside is not nearly the same thing as swimming outside. So I have done a couple 10K open water swims, which were challenging for a sprinter, but I have them under my belt. So it was not very fast, but it was fun.
Yeah. And are these wetsuit swims that you do in the lake, or just bathers?
In the summer, we don't need a wetsuit. So the water temperature will be, okay, I got to think Celsius. So it'll be low to mid 70s, which is probably 20 to lower 20s, somewhere around there.
Nice. Yeah.
So it's just nice in the summer. In the springtime, fall time, it'll get down to that 15 range, which it's definitely need a wetsuit for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's great. Now, I always like to ask everyone that comes on what their favorite set is. Your favorite swimming set of all time.
Favorite swimming set of all time.
Yes.
I like to work on technique and stroke count. So this may be more recent, but I still think it's up there on this one. It's not necessarily hard. but it's really, I'll do a set of, let's just say 16 or 20 25s.
Okay.
And the odds are going to be nice and easy float down on 30. Nothing really hard on the timeline, but the odds are nice and easy float down. And then the evens are all out breaststroke, but at a certain stroke count. So I'll start 3 strokes and then 4 strokes and then 5 strokes and build up to race pace. And then I know exactly what times I'm supposed to go on the clock. So am I hitting the times that I need to be, or am I not? So that's more of a race prep set. A non-race prep set I really do enjoy is 2050s. It's kind of a test for fitness of where I'm at. So it's 2050s on 40. Again, it's yards.
Yep.
So add a little bit, it'd be about 43, 45 for meters. So 2050s on 40, and it would be 4 freestyle, 1 breaststroke, 3 freestyle, 2 breaststroke, 2 freestyle, 3 breaststroke, 1 freestyle, 4 breaststroke. So 7 of the last 8 of them are breaststroke on 40, which is you're touching on 37s and
yeah,
huffing and puffing and turning very, very shortly. So it's a good fitness test. Just a 1,000 straight of, the freestyle gives you recovery, but not that much.
Yeah, that's a great set. Yeah, we actually, my little group, we did something similar in the pool yesterday with 100s freestyle, and we did mid grips of 4, but 3 easy, 1 fast, 1 easy, 1 fast, 1 easy, 1 fast, and then 1 easy, 3 fast, and then 4 fast. So really 7 fast. I know it was a tough set, especially back in the waterfall on week, but it's a good set and a good place to see where you're at.
And adding the fast at the end, like you said, is always much harder than adding the fast at the beginning.
Very tough. Yeah, absolutely. Just back to when you were talking about stroke counts, do you ever use any of those little tempo trainers? Or
I do. I have one of those, and we used it quite a bit in college. If I'm training long course, we have a couple long course outdoor pools here for the summer. If I'm training long course, I use it much more frequently, just because long course is much harder for me to get on the right tempo or understand where that tempo is. In a yards pool, I know, or short course pool in general, I know what my stroke counts should be for a given time. So if I'm 8 strokes in a 25-yard pool, that means I'm at the tempo that I need to be, because otherwise I would never get that many strokes in before I hit the wall. So yards, I can kind of do it on stroke count. Long course certainly need that tempo trainer.
Yeah, they're really good. I've tried them once or twice before, but I must say I sort of gave up after a while. It's quite a complicated little device. I found it really hard to work with.
Yeah, once you figure it out, it's not too bad, but it is certainly challenging. But also for kick sets, it's a great thing for breaststroke kick sets, because kick's usually a social kick and you're enjoying the time, but having something that beeps at you and tells you exactly when you need to kick and kind of forces that tempo up to more of a race type tempos, I found is very helpful.
Yeah. Do you use it for freestyle as well, or just when you're doing breaststroke?
Really, I've never really used it for freestyle. Freestyle is probably my worst stroke. It's more just the recovery stroke. That's the worst part of my IM. It's just try to make it and hold on after you finish the breaststroke wall. You usually have a good breaststroke leg, you pull ahead of everybody, and then you just watch them go by you on freestyle. But I do my best.
That's not my experience. I think people that are good at breaststroke often win the medley.
Sometimes there's always a lot of fast freestylers out there too. So
yeah, there is, definitely. Well, Geoff, thank you so much for talking to us today. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and hear about your swimming journey. And I'm sure everyone listening will take a lot away from everything you've talked about today.
Great, Danielle. Thank you for having me so much. This has been a blast, and please keep doing these podcasts. It's really enjoy listening to master swimmers around the world and what they're doing to get faster and enjoy the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, take care then.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye.